don't wait to be invited to the table. Sometimes you have to bring your own chair, your own snacks, and your own damn agenda. So don't wait. Show up. Because I don't believe people are malicious. I automatically decided in my mind that in this particular subset of data that the male CEOs had a higher level of education or had more experience than the female CEOs. And that was disproven, and the data doesn't show that. And so it shows, and in fact, women have a higher level of master's degrees than our male counterparts. And so it's like that we're all running the same race, but the women are running it in stilettos. So I don't know how to get ahead when I'm running in stilettos. I don't know how to catch up.
Yeah. There's a picture of that, actually. It's a picture of a woman and a male and just, work in the workforce in general. And it shows the hurdles, right? And the male's lane is pretty clear because they're supposed to be focused on work and they're supposed to provide for their family. And then the woman's lane is it's all their hurdles are being a caretaker, right? Being a mom, doing the laundry, taking care of the home, also having a job, also having to overcome the hurdles of, and so it's like, how can you look at that race and say, this is even, right? Because it's not. But you mentioned a thing that I think is interesting because I think probably the reason for that is that women have felt they needed to prove themselves with further education in order to get to that same level versus a man who just knew a guy, right? Or he walked into it because he was a man versus a female in the interview process. Thanks for tuning in to the Healthy Careers Podcast. In 2024, we reached over 32,000 listeners and ranked in the top 15% of all podcasts. We're proud to have SharePro Health as a sponsor and are currently looking for 2 more partners in 2025. If you're looking to connect with healthcare leaders, providers, and innovators, we'd love to spread the word about your service, product, or business. Reach out to me, Maddie, for more details. So, did the data have any further information that just shocked you or surprised you when it came to all of that?
The females CEOs had lots of great experiences. They had master's degrees. And I'd equate this back to, is I really believe that females have only been in practice management and doing and running orthopedic surgery groups for, 20-ish years. And I just don't think that we've had an opportunity to catch up. Certainly, I think that there has to be some gender bias in there somewhere, but I don't want to think that that's the entire problem and issue that we have. And I think we have to do, women have to do a better job of having non-emotional, data-driven conversations with the surgeons or the executive committees that determine our pay. Because I think when you come to the table non-emotionally, because it's really easy to complain about it with your 16 closest friends and talk about it behind their back. But when you come to a non-emotional discussion with data, I honestly don't believe that anyone would purposefully do this. Right. So I think we have to do our job too. We have to show people the data and we have to talk about it.
100%. And I will say I've seen, and I think it also goes down to the process and having a background in HR. A lot of what I've done in that role is, okay, when we're opening a position, no matter what it is, whether it's a C-level executive or you're hiring somebody at the front desk, we need to establish what are the things that are required from an experience level. So do we need them to have 10 years of experience? Do we need them to have 20? Do we need them to have none, right? And then what does the pay equate to based on that experience? And then how are we actually measuring that throughout the interview process so that we aren't having a bias when it comes to those hiring decisions? And we're using things like scorecards, right? And we're not sharing between each other after every single interview of like, did you like so-and-so, right? And what did you think of so-and-so, so that there's confirmation bias going on? Because when you are in a small practice and culture, that is typically what happens, right? And sometimes we don't make the strongest hiring decisions because of that, or we don't make the strongest offers equivalent to their experience. Simply not because, like you said, because nobody is out there
100%. 100%.
anybody or to be malicious. They just, it's all they know and there's no process in place. So how else are they supposed to go about it?
I think the biggest thing that we need to do is we need to come to the table with the salary surveys and data-driven decisions. And I really believe when we have those conversations that people will listen. But the problem is, again, I know I've said this, a lot of times we're not willing to have those conversations. You know why, Maddie? Because it's hard. And it kind of sucks to talk to people about that. And you kind of feel uncomfortable because you're advocating for yourself. When in the end, you're not just advocating for yourself, but you're advocating for every other female that is in your role when you have those conversations with your surgeons or your executive committee or your human resource department.
Yeah. Now, did you go as far in the data to see, I'd be curious, this is just how my talent mind works, is if there is a higher turnover rate in female administrators because they are afraid to have that conversation, that instead of having it, they just leave and go find a different position.
Well, I would love to have that. And the other thing I would love to have is if there is any kind of salary information for females of color. So any kind of diversity that we have. But unfortunately, both the Ortho Forum and the American Association of Orthopedic Executives does not report on that. And as well as it does not report on turnover in those positions. But I myself, Maddie, would love to have that data.
Yeah.
And maybe in my second career, I could do some researching on that. But unfortunately, with the full-time job of picking up trash and making sure my clinic's staffed, I can't do a lot of that research myself. But I do believe that people do leave jobs because of underpayment. And unfortunately, I think they potentially leave healthcare altogether, which is very sad because, as you know, we desperately need people in healthcare.